For 500 years, Roman legions refused to sleep in the open. Every evening, after marching 20 miles in armor, exhausted soldiers dug a ditch, raised a wall, and built a fortified camp they would tear down and abandon the next morning. Because when your home moves, your defense has to move with it. 2,000 years later, the people who understand that lesson best are sleeping in vans and old cars in Walmart parking lots, night after night, protected by tricks that cost almost nothing and almost never fail. And here is why this matters. Even if you sleep in a house tonight, every single one of these works on a home, a truck, a shed, or a campsite. Number 12 on this list is an old trucker's secret from the cargo theft wave of the 1970s. And number 3 was born on the Oregon Trail and is still practiced every January in the Arizona desert. Hit that subscribe button. Let us count down 20 primitive van defense tricks that make modern security look useless. Number 20. Back against the wall. Medieval castle builders put cliffs, rivers, and swamps behind their walls, so an attacker could only come from one direction. A cargo van has its weakest point at the back, those big double doors with their factory locks. So the veterans of the road reverse until the rear doors sit inches from a brick wall, a dumpster, or a concrete barrier. Now those doors physically cannot open, no matter what happens to the lock. One 30-second parking maneuver cuts the entry points to your home in half and turns the building behind you into part of your defense. The security industry sells door sensors for $200. The wall works for free and cannot be disabled from a laptop in a nearby car. Number 19. Nose out with the wheels straight. Cavalry soldiers never dismounted, facing away from their escape route, and fighter pilots parked their aircraft ready to roll. A van dweller does the same thing every night. Pull through or back in so the nose points at the exit. Leave the wheels straight and sleep with the keys within arm's reach of the pillow. Because the greatest security feature ever installed in a vehicle came from the factory. It is called the ignition. If trouble arrives at 2 in the morning, you do not negotiate, you climb over the seat, and you are a moving target on a public road in 8 seconds. A house has to stand and fight. A van gets to leave. The old-timers put it simply: the best fight is the one happening in your rearview mirror. Number 18. The work van costume. In both World Wars, armies painted ships in dazzle patterns and parked inflatable rubber tanks in empty fields, because looking like something else is cheaper than armor. The street version costs about $10. A battered ladder rack on the roof, an orange traffic cone behind the bumper, a magnetic decal on the door that says plumbing or electrical, bought online for the price of lunch, a clipboard and a high-visibility vest tossed on the dashboard. A prowler walking the lot at midnight reads that van in 2 seconds. A commercial vehicle, tools locked in the back, an owner arriving at 6 in the morning. He keeps walking. The person sleeping behind the bulkhead just got guarded by a costume, and the costume never sleeps. Number 17. Blackout discipline. During the London Blitz in 1940, air raid wardens patrolled the streets shouting one command through the dark: put that light out. A single glowing window could guide a bomber to a whole neighborhood, so an entire city learned to seal every seam. A van dweller learns the same lesson the first week on the road. One thin line of light leaking around a curtain announces a human being inside an empty work vehicle, and the whole disguise collapses. So they cut panels of Reflectix, that silver bubble insulation from the hardware store, to fit every window exactly. It blocks light, holds heat, and costs about $20 for the whole vehicle. Then comes the ritual. Walk a slow circle around your own van after dark and hunt for leaks like a blitz warden. Light is information. Give away none of it. Number 16. The ratchet strap bar. For most of human history, the front door was secured with a heavy beam dropped across iron brackets, because a bar spreads the force of a kick across the entire frame instead of concentrating it on one small lock. The rolling version of that ancient beam hangs in the tie-down aisle of every hardware store. Loop a ratchet strap between the interior handles of the rear doors, crank it tight, and do the same on the sliding door. Now, even if a thief pops the lock with a slim tool, which takes seconds on most vans, the door will not swing. He is no longer fighting a lock. He is fighting the whole body of the vehicle from the outside in public, making noise. $12, no battery, no monthly fee, and it doubles as a cargo strap by day. Now pause on something. The security industry has never designed a single serious product for a person sleeping in a vehicle. There is no money in it. Nobody ever got rich selling a $12 strap once, and you cannot bill a monthly fee on a parking maneuver. So the people with the least money and the highest stakes engineered their own protection out of hardware store physics and inherited wisdom. And they hold one advantage no product designer will ever have. Their system gets field tested every night, with everything they own inside it. When a camera company wants proof, it films a commercial. When a van dweller wants proof, she points at 10 years of mornings where where she woke up safe. And if you own a house, keep watching anyway, because every one of these translates straight to a front door, a garage, and a backyard shed. The tricks only get older and cheaper from here. Number 15. Cans on the handles. In the hobo jungles of the 1930s, men who owned nothing but a bedroll strung empty cans on wire around their sleeping spot, a trick borrowed from soldiers who guarded trenches with rattling ration tins. The vehicle version takes 1 minute. Loop a string of empty cans or just your spare keys and a carabiner over the inside of each door handle before bed. Police interviews with vehicle prowlers reveal their favorite move, and it is not breaking glass. It is quietly trying door handles down a whole row of cars, hunting for the one somebody forgot to lock. With cans on the handle, that first gentle test produces a rattle inside a silent van, and the prowler has just introduced himself to the person sleeping 3 feet away. His entire method requires silence. The cans refuse him silence for free. Number 14. The panic button pillow. Every modern vehicle already contains a 110 decibel siren wired to flashing lights, and most owners have never once used it on purpose. The key fob has a red button that triggers it instantly. Van dwellers sleep with that fob beside the pillow like their grandmothers slept with a bell rope. Someone tests the doors at 3 in the morning, one press of a thumb, and the entire vehicle he is touching begins screaming and strobing with him standing against it. Prowlers interviewed after arrest say the same thing burglars say. Attention is the one thing they cannot work through. Total cost, $0. It came with the van. Number 13. The air horn. Medieval villages had a law called the hue and cry. Any person who witnessed a crime was required to raise a continuous noise, and every neighbor who heard it was required to join the chase. Noise was the entire justice system. Ships still carry the same principle in a can. A marine air horn, $9 at any sporting goods store, produces around 120 decibels, enough to be heard across a harbor in a storm. Kept in the door pocket beside the bed, it works when the key fob battery is dead, and one long blast through a closed window disorients a person at close range and wakes every vehicle in the lot. It is the hue and cry in aerosol form, and it never needs charging. Number 12. The hidden kill switch. In the 1970s, cargo theft along American highways got so bad that truckers stopped trusting their door locks entirely and went after the ignition itself. They wired a cheap hidden toggle switch into the starter circuit and mounted it somewhere only they knew. Under the dash, behind a panel, inside the ashtray. Flip it off, and the engine cranks and cranks, but never fires. A thief who has already broken in assumes the vehicle is simply broken, and a broken vehicle is worthless, so he leaves. 50 years later, people living in vans use the exact same trick, because a stolen van is not a stolen car, it is a stolen home. The parts cost under $20, and unlike the transponders sold today, a hidden mechanical switch cannot be scanned, cloned, or relayed from a parking lot. The secret is the security. Number 11. The occupied performance. On the night before D-Day, Allied planes dropped hundreds of burlap dummy paratroopers over the French countryside, and German units spent the crucial opening hours of the invasion shooting at men made of sacking. Appearance, deployed correctly, fights for free. Life on the road uses the same theater, chosen to fit the stage. In a city lot where invisibility is safety, the performance is emptiness, curtains sealed, nobody home. But at a rural pull-off where the van is obviously camped, the performance flips. Size 13 work boots sit on the dashboard. 2 coffee cups stand on the console because 2 people are harder than one. A heavy chain leash lies coiled on the passenger seat. The stranger sizing up that camp in 4 seconds computes a big man and a big dog, and he is not going to knock to find out. In his line of work, curiosity is how you end up in handcuffs. Second pattern break, and this one comes straight from the police files. When detectives study vehicle break-ins, the pattern is almost embarrassing. The overwhelming majority are crimes of opportunity lasting under a minute, and the deciding factor is what the thief can see through the glass. A visible bag, a charging cable, a phone mount, those are invitations. Notice what that means. What actually stops him is uncertainty, then noise, then witnesses, and none of the 3 plugs into a wall. The rest of this list is built on those 3 things. Number 10. The empty stage. Here is the counterintuitive move that separates rookies from veterans. Leave the glove box hanging open. Leave the center console lit up. Let the streetlight shine on absolutely nothing. Worn seats, an empty cup holder, a vehicle that has clearly already been cleaned out by life itself. A window costs a thief nothing to break, but he will not break it for visible nothing, because even 10 seconds of risk demands a visible reward. The people who live this way call it poverty as armor, and it explains a strange fact of the road. The rusty van sleeps more safely than the gleaming $100,000 camper parked beside it. Wealth on display is a target. Nothing on display is a wall. Number 9, the peanut butter bank. Regular viewers will remember the great-grandmother from our home defense countdown who kept her cash flat under the false bottom of the flour tin because she had lived through the bank failures and never fully trusted a vault again. The road never forgot her method either. Real cash lives in a cleaned-out peanut butter jar in the food box, the least interesting object in the vehicle. Documents ride under a false floor in a container of engine rags, and in the console, in plain sight, sits the decoy, an old wallet holding $20, expired cards, and a few receipts. A thief inside a strange vehicle is on a frantic clock. He grabs the obvious wallet, feels finished, and leaves the peanut butter alone. Think of the $20 in that decoy as an insurance premium due maybe once a decade that keeps everything that matters. Number 8, the Roman rotation. Those legions from the beginning of this video did something else worth stealing. They never slept twice behind the same wall, and their enemies could never plan an attack on a camp that would not exist tomorrow. On the road, this becomes one iron rule. Never park in the same spot 2 nights running. Anyone casing a lot needs one ingredient to act, and that ingredient is pattern. The van that rotates through 5 or 6 spots across town never gives him one. Nobody can case what never repeats. This trick requires no equipment, only discipline, which is exactly why the security industry has never figured out how to charge for it. Number 7, the anchor watch. Sailors at anchor have posted a night watch for as long as ships have existed, one set of eyes making a slow round before the crew sleeps. The road version takes 3 minutes. Before bed, walk one full lap around the vehicle. Tug each handle. Glance underneath and into the shadows nearby. Meet the eyes of anyone lingering, because a prowler wants to be unseen, and you have just politely informed him he is not. Then comes the sacred rule, taught by every veteran to every rookie. If the spot feels wrong, do not argue with it. Start the engine and drive. That feeling is pattern recognition running faster than words. Trust it. Gas is cheaper than regret. Number 6, the $15 Sentry. There is one modern gadget the road people actually respect, and it was never designed for security at all. A wireless driveway doorbell, $15 online, comes as a small motion sensor and a battery chime. Stick the sensor outside on the back door, aimed at the approach, and keep the chime by the pillow. Anyone stepping into that zone rings a soft tone inside the van while he is still deciding, still 10 feet away, still interruptible. No subscription, no Wi-Fi, no server in another state, and the battery lasts about a year. It is the general store bell of 1895, the same one we covered in our home defense countdown. Reborn in plastic and doing the same honest job. Announce the stranger before the stranger announces himself. Third pattern break, and it is time to name the philosophy. Every gadget in the security aisle waits for the crime to start before it earns its keep, because the recording begins when the glass breaks, and by then the argument is already lost. The legions did not review footage of the ambush afterward. They made camp, posted watch, and moved at dawn, so the ambush never found them in the first place. Every trick on this list works in that same ancient order. Stay unseen, make the approach loud, make the entry slow, and keep the engine between you and trouble. When your defense is built from walls, noise, wheels, and neighbors, nothing between you and your own safety can crash, expire, or put you on hold. The last 5 entries are the greatest hits of that philosophy. Number 5, the dog bowl bluff. Outside the sliding door sits a giant steel dog bowl, the rim chewed ragged, bought for $2 at a yard sale. A heavy chain clips to the bumper. A sticker on the window announces a dog on board. There may not be any dog for 100 miles. It does not matter, because remember the interviews with the men who do this for a living. A big dog sits at the very top of the list of things that make them walk away, and not one of them is going to tap on the glass of a dark van to find out whether the dog is real. The chewed rim on that $2 bowl tells a story, and stories do not need to be true to work. They only need to go unchecked. Number 4, the club. In 1986, a Pennsylvania businessman named James Winter had his Cadillac stolen and responded with a piece of medieval thinking, a bright red steel bar locked across the steering wheel. Mechanically, it works like the beam across the castle gate, turning a quick steel into a long, loud struggle with hardened steel. But its real weapon is visibility. A car thief walking a row of vehicles at night makes the same speed calculation a burglar makes at a window. This one cost me 3 noisy minutes. The one beside it cost 30 quiet seconds. He picks the easier one every single time. $40, 30 seconds to install at bedtime, and it advertises through the windshield all night long. Pick another van. Number 3, circle the wagons. On the Oregon Trail, Pioneer Wagon Train trains ended every day by pulling their wagons into a closed corral, penning the livestock inside and putting every family within shouting distance of every other. The phrase became a joke. The practice never stopped working. Every January, tens of thousands of van and RV dwellers gather near Quartzsite, Arizona, camping in loose desert circles with doors facing inward, exactly like the wagon trains, and veterans caravan in twos and threes all year for the same reason. One vehicle alone is a straggler. Three vehicles camped together with one porch light and three sets of ears are a herd. And every predator on Earth, on four legs or two, hunts stragglers and avoids herds. It has never once been otherwise. Number 2, the hobo code. In the 1930s, drifters riding the rails developed a written language of chalk marks scratched on fence posts and water towers. A cat meant a kind woman lived here. Crossed lines meant this town was hostile. A circle with two arrows meant get out fast. Men with nothing built an intelligence network spanning the continent because knowing which ground was safe mattered more than anything they could carry. Today, that chalk lives on in the forums and apps where van dwellers report which lots are quiet, which get rolled by security at midnight, and which had a break-in last week, and in the quiet nod between two rigs sharing a Cracker Barrel lot. Jane Jacobs got famous in 1961 for proving that streets are kept safe by ordinary eyes watching ordinary life. The men riding the rails proved it 30 years before her, in chalk. Number 1, the dog. Long before anyone built a wall, humans and wolves struck a bargain around a campfire, meat and warmth in exchange for ears in the dark. 15,000 years later, that bargain is still outperforming everything Silicon Valley has shipped. And inside a van, the oldest partnership on Earth gets even better. Thin steel walls mean the dog hears footsteps on gravel before they reach the bumper and smells a stranger through the door seam. The tight space means no intruder gets a single quiet corner because the guard is never more than 4 feet from any entry point. Even a small dog fills a van with enormous sound, and a furious bark exploding out of a dark vehicle is a mystery box that no thief on Earth has ever chosen to open. The dog patrols while you sleep, works through every power outage and dead zone, and cannot be jammed from a car parked at the curb. People on the road with almost nothing will share their last meal with the dog, and they are not being sentimental. They are paying the maintenance fee on the finest alarm system ever built, one that greets them at the door every single day of its service. So here is this week's assignment, and it works whether you park a van or own a house. Pick one trick and run it tonight. Drop a decoy wallet in the console, empty the glove box, and leave it hanging open. Walk one slow lap around your property after dark, and tug every handle you find. These tricks were sharpened by people with the most to lose and the least to spend, tested every single night with everything they owned on the line, and they are still winning. Drop the one you are trying in the comments. I want to see whether the kill switch beats the dog bowl. And if you have ever slept behind thin steel walls yourself, tell me the trick I missed, because the people living on the road know things the rest of us forgot.